You are now listening to the Curtis King Podcast. What's going on with you music producers, and welcome to another episode of the Curtis King Podcast. If this is your first time watching and or listening, I just want to say thank you for watching and listening. Whether it's the traditional platforms, the Spotify podcast, the Apple podcast, or whatever it is that you're listening from, I want to say thank you, and definitely give us a 5-star rating, do all that stuff that you do on the podcast. For those on YouTube, you obviously know it's a very, very special day because we have a special guest. You know, usually we don't have any guests, obviously because of COVID, the situation has been over the last year. But the guest we have today, look.
Yo, what's happening?
It's Hannibal Buress.
What's up?
Hannibal Buress, what are you doing here at the Curtis King Podcast, man?
I'm chilling, man.
Chilling. Hey.
Here. It's weird being able to see your screen.
Yeah. When we take that down?
No. It's just I'll be able to. It's fine, but it's just
bring it here. It's all good.
it's just seeing. Oh, you got 480 gigs free.
You good? You ain't got to worry about it. It don't even exist no more.
Okay, I was just good. It just feels okay. He good. That's a lot of gigs.
It's a lot of. You gonna be all right?
He
No, we gonna be
all
good.
right. He can do a lot of things. He can create for a while without worry.
Right.
That's a lot of space. Half a terabyte. He's good.
We good on space. We good on space. The biggest thing is just, technology. Whenever you decide to do anything, technology likes to remind you its boss.
Yeah.
And that happens a lot. For my audience, they know it happens a lot that we get in here and, all of a sudden, I call her F. Eliana. It's not FL Studio. F. Eliana. When she starts acting a little bit different, I'm like, oh, okay, we got a little attitude.
Yeah.
So you F. Eliana right now. I'm going to just let you happen like that.
That's how I feel about my Sonos.
Your Sonos. What? You got a nickname for your Sonos when it starts acting up?
No, it's just so fickle.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I feel like it's really against me. And just why does it do that? Sometimes it just won't show up. And then 2 minutes later, hey, here I am. And then
you needed me to work today.
You needed me to work. It's just it feels. I was watching Flying Lotus' new anime, and it made me think maybe I should make an anime about betrayal with my Sonos.
Look, there's an audience for it. There's absolutely an audience for it. There's not even a doubt about that. But I want to address. We've been chopping it up here. You drove all the way out here. And it's definitely a pleasure as someone who's been a fan of your comedy specials and just your approach to comedy in general. We were talking about a name that, you and I are both very familiar with in Mitch Hedberg.
Yeah.
And what I loved about his comedy that sort of, I guess, prepared me for when I was started to watch comedians like yourself is it at first you're like, did it start? Like, did the joke start? And then before you know it, you already in it, and it's like, yo, this might be the funniest thing I've ever watched.
Yeah.
So, but I appreciate your approach to things, and I want to address the elephant in the room, in that folks are probably asking, how in the hell did something like this happen? Like, I'm on my IG, I'm just doing my live stream.
Yeah.
Might have been like 30, 40 people in there, and then I see a name pop up, and I'm like, yo, shout out to you, Curtis. I enjoy the videos, and and I'm like, wait, it's a troll account. It's a troll account. It's a troll account with a verified. I'm gonna figure this out later. But after seeing it, man, how in the hell did you find my content first and foremost?
A video popped up on YouTube that said, "Stop sitting on your music," and
on this very podcast, actually.
Yeah, and so I said, "Whoa, I'm sitting on a bunch of music,"
and I think that's something that folks probably have. I mean, maybe they only have known you, unless they're part of your audience, of course.
Yeah.
Maybe they've only known you from doing the stand-up comedy and the movies and the voiceover work that you have done, which we definitely got to chop it up about. But this transition into music, man, this is another reason why we're here today. It's not just for the podcast. We're definitely working on some music today. How does that transition happen?
Yeah.
And how recent or how far back does it go?
It goes back a while. And now I've gotten more serious and intentional and booking a lot of sessions and really working on a lot of stuff. But I was making songs before I started doing comedy. Me and my homie Dave, back when I was 17, 18,
right,
freestyling. He had a little beat machine. And so started doing comedy, but still was adjacent to hip hop because I was hosting poetry and hip hop open mics, and I even battle rapped in college.
Really?
A couple times.
What?
I was in battle just because I was at that point 19, 20, just looking for a way to be on stage, and I knew that battle rap was about getting a reaction. And so I've been freestyling and messing, but since I was a teenager, and recorded songs early, and just started doing stand-up, and then didn't use the free time to also keep working on. I was kind of just locked in on stand-up, just because it was easier to do too. I think that was part of it.
Right.
Because you could just show up to an open mic. Music has a little bit of a friction level, especially in early 2000s, where you have to get some stuff or book.
Absolutely.
And so
game at that point in time.
This is me reflecting back on why I didn't do it more over this course of time.
Transition you into.
Yeah. And so was always talking about making a mixtape, or I would host friends' mixtapes and freestyle on stuff. And so now with the pandemic happening, I did a little bit of stand-up, but stand-up shows are weird and they're not like they used to be for the most part. And I think now they're getting a little bit, but for the the ones I did last year was drive-ins. It was weird. And so music, you can work on it without the process being really that affected.
Right.
You can still kind of work on it, and you don't have to do it in front of people and think about all these things. You can just kind of do your thing and still have that outlet. So I've been able to lock in on it more lately because I'm not doing shows and having my mind on that and dealing with that. And so I've been just and then also not locking myself into just doing goofy songs too, which I can do.
Because that's the first. I feel like that's the first stereotype when you're thinking about folks who transition from, being in a comedic standpoint, and you built your audience off of your comedy and your brand of comedy, and so those are gonna be the first people who are gonna naturally check you out and see what you're doing. It does become a thing where it's like, well, how do you make that transition and it still be authentic to who you are beyond the person that they've met through comedy? Has that kind of been a conversation you've had amongst?
It's a conversation. It's an internal thing that's constant, because the goofy songs or the fun, it's an easy piece of cake to make the hook and just have a fun flow and fun concept. You do a visual to it. It's like you know how that rollout's gonna look before that rollout's even done with. Yeah. And so it's I'm thinking about how to balance it and still have a song that is not, that's just a technically well written good song, which I can do also. It's a little tougher. But
I mean, but
it's supposed to be,
right?
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so I've been working on those where it takes more time to do that, and okay, I can do both of these songs. And so now what I'm thinking about, and maybe I'm overthinking about it, which is how to do it. And I think it's just do them both, just put the shit out as best as it could be, whatever it is, and just put. And so that's. But I'm excited to really start doing it because I've been having a lot of fun doing it and just. Working on and rewriting and that type of thing, because I come from stand-up and rewriting. So being able to give something space and then come back to it and add to it is natural to me. And just, it's been a fun, last, it's been 6 months or so where I've been really locked in. Before it was sporadic, doing sessions, having these things, but now it's been in a more real music mind state, and it's been cool because you think about how to drop it and how to
I guess my question too is the stuff that you've learned in your career, because how long you been doing stand-up comedy?
19
or just
years.
comedy in general, just have been in the industry. 19 years.
19 years, yeah. 19 years.
There's got to be things that that are like transferable knowledge into what you're doing with the music, if I'm correct, right?
Yeah, it's just, well, I know how to perform already,
sure.
you know, and putting together a show and sequencing and the project management aspect of it, right. You know what I mean, which is a part of it too, and knowing, just having a clear vision on shit and having access also to great production, right? But then making it so where, okay, but then also that's a challenge too, because I don't want to only be like, of course he got these fire beats and he's not getting busy, because I can get some of the best.
And that's where I got to bring in a tidbit, because I know there's folks in my audience right now that's like, oh, you old capping ass Curtis. You said you wasn't working with no artist.
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Hear me out. I got to a place where, and it's crazy, because we've had a couple discussions talking about when you're doing the thing that you're doing, and you finally get some downtime, you start looking around and you're like, how much of this represents where I'm at right now mentally and where I want to go?
Yeah.
And I think as working with artists, I just got so sick of the, like, you're just lower on the totem pole as a producer, and you know what I'm saying? Like, we do all of this music, and then when it comes to conversation about business and split sheets, oh, you just gotta holler at my manager. Where's your manager at? Oh, he's off somewhere else. Oh. And it's like, it just makes it a frustrating conversation where it's like, what are we really doing? What are we building? Are we, what is happening? And especially when you have it in your mind that you have your own goals as a producer. What does that look like? And I know that this transition into the internet and doing what I'm doing now, like, the majority of what I was doing early on in my career was working with other artists. The majority of what I'm doing now is streaming and creating content for YouTube. Yeah. And so it got me to a space where I was like, financially, I don't need that to make it happen. So if any project I jump in is going to be a passion project.
Right.
But even then, when you reached out, I was like, well, let me hear what the music sound like.
Yeah.
Then you sent me some references. I was like, oh no, we cooking.
Yeah,
so
man.
It's dope to see that you make that transition and you're like, this is you're gonna get all of me and not just, like you said, the layup.
Yeah. It's that's been great too, just seeing the growth too, from doing it consistently.
Sure.
Over a few, and just seeing, oh, I'm getting more presence, or even, I remember in October, November, I wrote some stuff that was double time, and I was just fumbling on the shit.
Yeah,
I was just like, why the fuck? I was trying to lay it down, and then I'm like, these words aren't that tough. It's not that many, and
I've been talking my whole life.
I've been talking my whole life, and I kept on, and it was just, and so it took me a lot of time. I was trying to make I remember specifically being in my living room trying to make this video of me getting these bars off. Where I'm like, man, there's so many words and this is only 20 seconds. This feels like a fucking hoax anyway.
What was the video for, kind of as a reference?
Just as me just trying to get these lines down and shit.
Okay.
And just like trying so much to and then fumble. And then now months later where I added on to that, and I'm able to kind of do it with ease, just through practice and shit. Oh, it's like anything, where if you just work on that shit, you're gonna get that move. You're gonna get the fucking layup, or you'll be able to work on
your layups in the process.
Yeah.
It seemed like, and I imagine it kind of had, probably was the same. You probably were using some of the same things that you learned within comedy and when you started first doing stand-up, and I definitely want to talk about how you got your start with that, but I'm assuming that the transition, like, it wasn't like you were learning all over again.
Right, yeah. I'd done songs already. I written stuff before and done, and so conceptually I feel like I'm good with just ideas on songs and coming up with hooks. So really the challenge is, living up to my own technical standards in my head. You know what I'm saying?
What kind of artists are we talking about when you're thinking about a song that lyrically does it for you? what kind of bar are you setting? Like, what kind of artists are coming to mind when you start to think about that? Because people, like, most folks, when they jump into music, like, you know, it's a vibe, man. It's a vibe, bro. Like, you don't have to worry about all that. Just spit. Just rap what comes to mind.
Yeah.
But to care that much about the technicality, about like that has to come from a certain.
There's a place for all of it. There's a place for just There's a place for you know, and there's a place for just really, you know, getting out a lot of ideas. Lupe Fiasco, definitely, and Fonte from Little Brother. Yeah, Fonte is amazing. Just his presence on the mic is wild.
It's comfortability.
That comfort.
It's like he's talking. The same thing I felt about my favorite artist is Andre 3000. It's 3 Stacks, because I feel like there's been so many times I'm listening to a song and I forget I'm listening to a song.
Yeah,
like he's up here telling me about a situation in which, like, if I'm not mistaken, I forget the name of the song, but it was an Outkast song, and he's talking about, like, the first time, I guess, that he experienced porn. And, like, he's telling a story, or even, like, the one on elevators, where he's talking about the guy that stops him in the middle of the mall the other day.
Yeah.
You know, talking about smoke something. Man, remember me from school? No, not really. But the comfort level to have that is something to aspire to. Huh?
The comfort is, because it's stuff where I've laid it down and the words are there.
Yeah.
And I say, I don't sound as comfortable as I want to sound right there. Though I'm hitting the words, but something in the voice and where it needs a little something. Yeah. I need to, like, I don't know if it's whatever it is, like, be bouncing around a little more in there.
Yeah.
But the comfort level and the presence is not there on this particular one. And so it's just finding, okay, what am I? Is it the beat? Or is it just needing to know it even better? Just so where it's just a part of you. And so I think from writing and all of my other experience, stand up and all that kind of makes me, you know, like, be able to know it right away, and not just kind of not sit in it too long, like, and just knowing, okay, that's what it needs to be. All right. It's just and so it's been fun like that, man. Just
make art and make peace. Make art and make peace with whatever came that day, was supposed to come that day for whatever particular reason. Yeah. I guess my last question on that particular topic is do you think that, because I equate as an artist, when you're rapping and you're putting these words and trying to make it seem like a very seamless conversation between you and the listener, I equate that to almost reading a script. Like, you're the actor that has to nail this and make me believe that you're doing whatever you say you're doing, whether that's trapping, whether that's, you know, telling a story about heartbreak. Do you feel like that maybe, because I know you've done, of course, script reading, all that stuff. Do you think that has added any benefits or any kind of advantage in it?
Definitely voice acting too.
Voice acting, especially.
Because you go in and you have your line.
Right.
You have your line and you got your line. You got your line. You got your line.
Right.
You got your line. And so you give them a few moves, and then they use whatever they use for the process. So being able to know that, you know, there's different ways to approach it. Staying within yourself, but you know, I mean, sometimes fun to rap in an accent too.
Man, I mean, look. I always feel, you know, and there's a few folks that you know, I've been fans of, just as comedians in general, and then honestly, like, some of the newer comedians or the influencers and whatnot, who I see they make this natural transition into music, and I get excited to see that, because I'm thinking you're gonna bring something different, just based upon you and the way that you view the world. That's part of your job, is like helping us see normal things that are funny as shit.
Yeah.
So
it's because one of the songs I sent you one of the songs.
Yeah, I used to make a couple of them.
It's pretty crazy, and it's one of them where I like the idea, but also it's so silly that I feel like I'm leaning into the idea where I'm like, fuck it, it's Monsters Never Have Diarrhea, which is just from a mushroom jam session and shit, just having, but it's just a fun thing. but it's just not, I know what that's trying to do. But then there's the other track I said you that's in a different zone. But Monsters Never Have Diarrhea, I feel like is silly, but it is important in its own way.
I mean, no pun intended, it's some real shit. No pun intended, it's some real shit. But when I and that's the thing about it too. Like, when I heard it, I saw, you can tell, lyricists can tell when you're listening. And mind you, I'm somebody that is not a purist when I say lyricist. When I put lyricists in there, I'm talking about all the way from a Nas to a Jay-Z to a Sugar Free to a DJ Quick. Because I shared a lyric from Sugar Free in which my man did a whole math equation in the middle of a song. And was talking about his age in dog years since he's a dog. And it was giving you all of this game. And then he was carrying the two. And every word was still rhyming. And then towards the end of it, he was like, that makes, if I carry the two, that makes me 168. But he said weight in the middle of it. And he said, that makes me 168. You got to think, did this man weigh 168 pounds on top of this analogy?
Yeah.
So like that level of, you can tell when people care.
And going into their own world a little bit, just really diving. Can you play that?
Yes. Yeah, let me play that for you. Hold on, let me pull that up. I'm gonna have to cut it off for YouTube, but I'm gonna pull the song up and I'll give you guys a reference to it. Matter of fact, no, I'm gonna just do this. I'm gonna play it from my actual Twitter account because that is where I shared that clip. Where is it at? Is it here? Yeah, this thing is going off. Come on, stop it. With the finger waves too, like stop.
Yeah, he's locked in. He's like, just, this is what it is.
Nothing. He said so. I look at that and I'm like, you can tell when someone. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing. Doesn't matter what you're into. You can tell somebody. Like lyricists can just tell. You can sense that this person cares about how they're coming at this topic. They care that it's conceptually. They care how they sound.
Yeah.
But then not caring so much where it's not cool anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's folks who lyrical, spiritual, and that's like, yo, you gotta chill out a little bit.
Where it doesn't. Where
you lose touch with the people.
Right, where it's no word. Yeah, it's only words and stuff, and it doesn't matter where. You're just saying stuff, and it's not connecting the same way as other people that don't, because it's not truly where you coming from. You just kind of trying to paint by numbers a little bit.
Yeah, and that gave me flashback. You said that my wife was playing paint by numbers when she was pregnant. That was a crazy time. I'll never forget that game. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I had a random ADHD moment, but hey, you good.
Yeah, man. It's but I put out this track, Cheers. That's just because I got really into the idea that why don't British rappers pop off in the States, but British people in other fields are able to have like the comedians and
Idris Elba's,
actors and singers, and the rap doesn't hit the same. It's mostly the accent thing and just American clothes, but it was just just started this dumb track, Cheers, just doing it, just and just acting. If you just commit to this world. That's the thing too, locking into a world just immediately with, this is a star over there, like East London, what I'm saying? Everybody out there, just right away everybody you make some noise out there. Just you just committed. At this point, you can't look. You done already came too far. What's up, everybody? Cheers! Yeah, we're out here, Brixton. It's just some silly. It's fun, and that's It ain't gotta live in that the whole time, but that's a fun, in a. For this 3 minutes. For this 3 minutes, that's its own little world,
I respect it, man, because I know that's so difficult for people, but this is the age to do it in. I feel like people are so open to music that is experiences. Like we were talking about even like how NFTs are monetizing these experiences and saying I have a piece of it. Like one of my favorite battle rappers, why is his name not coming to me right now? no, you finna
Conceited.
get this work. You finna get this work. You
Oh,
finna
the
get
one.
this work.
Oh.
Why is it just
I
brain
know.
fart.
Loaded Lux.
Loaded Lux. Yeah,
Oh,
Loaded Lux.
man.
He is selling an NFT of the gray hoodie.
Yeah.
The original gray hoodie that, like, when they say like a hoodie Lux, like, he's selling an NFT for the gray hoodie. When I saw that, that's what, like, if you ever had any questions about what a hoodie, what a NFT is, that's when I saw it and I was like, we're finally monetizing moments in file formats that before didn't mean anything because a download could be one of a gajillion.
Yeah.
Right? Think back to when Soulja Boy was going viral in the very beginning, and you thought he was like, I'm gonna legally download this new Outkast album. No, you're not. That's
Soulja Boy.
you. Every single song that you download. So, like, thinking about that now, folks have found a way to kind of monetize that. But those are the experiences, man. You got to create those for people now.
Absolutely. The Loaded Lux. I remember watching that battle with some friends at my spot last year.
Okay.
And it was just, I think I was a little high and it just was it was so intense. It was great, but it was just, he was going in so much.
Mm-hmm.
After that went off, I had to put on the sound of the ocean and shit. Like, put me on some 472 megahertz. Like, it was just so, it was just I had guests and shit. Everybody, okay, we need to.
Even if everybody else chill, everybody got to chill.
Hey,
we got to relax.
Wow,
after
that was, whoo.
Yeah, hey, somebody else who does that, and it's crazy because I used to work at Quiznos with this guy. You'll never guess. Battle rap, and I know you've heard of him. If you're into battle rap, I know you heard of him. Daylight. Daylight. I used to work at Quiznos with Daylight. And he used to, back when he was doing what he does now, it was just called lying.
Yeah.
Now it's called trolling.
Oh.
But back then, he was telling, he would do stuff like, we'd be in the, he was doing music at the time and whatnot. We'd be closing up Quiznos in Carson, California, closing up Quiznos, and he'd be like, hey, you ever used an MPC before, Curtis? And I'm like, yeah, but I didn't really like it. He was like, yeah. First time I used it, I was at DJ Quick's house. Everything was red in there. And would just walk in the back. And you know when people say things like, oh, I'm just playing, or I'm just joking.
He'll stand on it?
He commit to it, right? Or then I would go to his MySpace page and he would have like, and I'm, this the homie, so he knows. I've told these stories before. But I go to his MySpace page and I would see like I'll give you a great example. He came to the Quiznos and he was late and I was the manager. I was like, bro, what's up, man? Why you late? And he was like, he was limping. He was like, oh, man. I was like, what's wrong? What happened? He said, bro, I kicked a basketball off the rim. Like a 10-foot rim?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, but I'm going to go ahead and clock in. Now, when you see him in his lane, like he's obviously, he's going to a whole other level in stratosphere. But at that time, it's just like, now it's the time for giving people experiences. Yeah. Giving people. He's another one of those battle rappers that I'm like, yeah, I need a little moment of silence after this. I was judging those two lies on different scales. Okay.
The first one, when he said everything was red there in MVC, I said, that's harmless fun right there.
Just throwing us out there.
Just throwing it out there. Who cares? That just keeps it interesting. You know what I'm saying?
Let's just close up,
make
mop,
it up
and go
stuff.
home.
Work. I mean, you got to get, the work thing is a little more shady.
I'll forgive you. I'll let you get with that one.
The DJ Quick one, that's just, keep it funky. Just make up some shit. Who cares? Like, it's not that deep. It's no consequences. Just why not? Everything was red. So what?
Sure. It's not that deep. But then when the basketball went, and I was like, okay, you got to at least give me a JK.
You put me in a spot now.
Now I got to explain this. See, bro,
I got to talk to somebody else.
He got what we call boosties in basketball, and he kicked the basketball off the rim. But shout out to Daylight and just that whole scene, because I feel like that, I don't know how you feel about just battle rap in general. When it's not overwhelming, it definitely can be like a huge source of inspiration to just like stretching your brain out and doing new things.
They go in, man. The writing that they do and the preparation, they make you care about. And that other battle from 2014, when you were battling him, you should have been battling me. Yeah, I was right there with the hat on. Your girl was right by me, and she kept looking at me, winking all smiley. Then I fucked that bitch. Like, yeah.
And the other person just sitting there like this. They sitting there like this. You got that? You got that? Yeah, you got that. And she and the girl in the back too, like, you're not gonna say it's okay.
It's so intense.
That's something else too. And it's funny because another post that I put up. I'm sorry, I got Sugar Free staring at you right now. But there's another post that I put up, and it's funny because I want to share this with you now that I'm on here, where it's talking about, ironically, the same thing that made you click on one of my videos, but I put up. This is pretty much the basketball equivalent of saying, damn, this tweet kind of did go off. Okay, hold on. Let me. I need to just find my page because now it's starting to get hectic. Okay, let me just find my page. I don't know if you saw this basketball player.
Oh, you're about to get his shit slapped, huh?
So for those who didn't see it, I'm gonna try to put this up on in the edit and whatnot. There's a basketball player who was dribbling. He's kind of like following Julian Newman's example in that viral meme that went out there, and he's dribbling like crazy. He literally long arm throws the basketball at his opponent's head, which should have been a fight already to begin with.
Yeah,
and then he does his crazy dribble and just bricks it. And I said, in quotations, I'm waiting until my music is perfect before I release it.
Yeah.
That's what folks be looking like. Yeah, I'm about to, man, wait till I touch it up. You know what I'm saying? I'm finna mix and master this. And when I get this right, it's finna be perfect. And they just throw their shot, and then it's like nobody care. It's like, just put the music out, man.
Yeah, just get it going. Because it's just, how it goes initially is not how you think it's gonna go. Or the initial push that you think is gonna make it.
Yeah.
Oh, nope. You're gonna need to give that another month of effort to really to get it across sometimes.
How much can you really learn about people? And somebody else put it, they were like, damn, you'll be having a whole album rollout. And I guess the same thing applies to even folks who are trying to project what's gonna happen for a movie or what's gonna happen for an event. It's like you're talking about predicting the behavior of people who don't remember what they had for lunch the day before.
Yeah.
And you're trying to predict how they're going to react based upon, I'm going to put this video out first, I'm going to do this. Not to say there's no need for the strategy, but it gets to a point where it's like, what are we really trying to predict, and can we predict that? It's too many variables.
With the music, it's tougher. Because with live events, you could gauge shit a little bit better and be like, okay, I'm doing this for this. I know that people come in at this,
right.
But the music, just because of the internet, you're more dependent on the algorithm and shit like that, or how it's gonna go, if it's gonna get to the folks you really want it to, and the art, if the artwork doesn't,
timing,
that type of shit.
Predict.
It's really, it's wild, because it's some songs where, it's a lot of songs where I'm like, why isn't this?
Why it's not hitting?
Why don't everybody know this song? Just stuff I like this, and then you think it's kind of. This is crazy. Nobody, but there's so many that everybody that it's so much shit out there.
It's always
so much shit out there.
It is, and and people have their own reasons for why they like the shit they like.
Yeah,
like I'll be putting together a beat and be like 40 layers of just music, and I'm like, yo, I'm on my Mozart, like I'm on my Kanye. I'm doing my thing, and then it's like, it's cool. It's just really dark. Is the response. As opposed to something I work on for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That might be the best thing you ever did. And it's like, really?
It's just, you gotta, your taste is not the same as everybody.
No,
it's not at all.
No.
And it's good to make stuff, but that's the thing, realizing people don't, while I'm cutting something, that's not, this right here is how to.
They don't care.
They don't care.
Yeah.
It's but it's fun sometimes too. Just I just started editing video last year.
How's that been?
It's been cool. I don't do it all, but I just know how to just do basic cuts and put music. Shit that was really simple that it hit me. I could have been doing this for years. I could have been working on shit on the road, and I just been kind of shipping out or just doing basic, easy travel stuff.
Right.
And it's easy to just cut here, da. You could do something, and so it was nice to, know I can do it because it's kind of like being, producing your own shit, being able to right away.
And is this like within the last year of things?
This was last year, last year.
How did that affect? Like, I obviously affected all of us, but how did that directly affect? I'm sure you had all kind of momentum. I remember seeing on the Eric Andre show and just seeing you show up in different places. The Spider-Man moved me, and I'm like, it's moving, and it's very obvious for everybody who's watching, especially those who are fans of your work. How was it initially, and sort of how did it affect things and still affect things in your work that you're doing?
Here's a very specific effect. It affected how I put out my last special, Miami Nights, because there was a lot of time to be around that wouldn't have normally been around.
Okay.
And think.
Right.
And so I had a deal with Netflix, actually.
Okay.
And it was supposed to come out in July, and then I just kind of was sitting around. I was sitting around just thinking about it. Like, oh man, and I didn't want to sell it fully to them. It was a good number, but I just kind of got in my head, I want to keep it. And decided to just put it out on YouTube.
Oh wow!
Independently. And yeah, I wouldn't have done that if it was no COVID and I was kind of on the road, because I wouldn't have had time to think.
Right.
But in my mind then, I was, if I put out Netflix, we're not on the road right now, so it doesn't have the immediate effects.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of folks are holding music because it can't tour it.
Can't do really too much with it.
So
did it make the decision easier for you? Because I imagine most folks in that situation, that's a huge company, obviously, and for a lot of folks that would be their calling card.
Yeah.
But the fact that you were able to have the and I'm all about ownership. My channel, that's all we talk about is ownership of your stuff. To be able to make a decision like that, do you think that COVID made it easier for you to have the clarity and just kind of go, or were you already in that headspace?
If I was going to do it, I should have done it. I was already pretty far in with them where it was funky business. You know what I mean? Okay. Where they were, for real, dog. I'm
gonna do this right now.
Right? What, dog? It was May to July, and they want, I'm in the mode supposed to be delivering the shit around then, and they had it actually. They were in the caption and metadata mode of the shit. Right. And I pulled it. And so that's what I don't regret the decision. I regret the timing of the decision because that made it a little funky with some folks I know for a while. So we gotta, but but it just didn't. It was just having that time. Because I would have been probably on the road or doing other stuff. I would have been saying, we're going to do that. Let's, that's going forward, and then we're going to work on other shit. But sitting in the crib, just me, was kind of, you know what? I want to be able to release my shit on a Russian TV station if I want to, or just do random shit. I started thinking of the possibilities. None of which I've done so far. I'm gonna re-release it soon, but just like having that
thought though.
And so it was just that was a major one. And then just just sitting working on shit and going through old footage and getting my iPad and then seeing like, I work better when I'm able to touch versus trying to work on the computer when I'm able to touch and make a beat a touch. That keeps me more engaged with the work.
Sure.
And so learning those type of things is what happened during
That's
time.
Huge. That's huge. You got to find your systems. It's crazy because I just did a video on my channel about tips for music producers with ADHD, and there was a Reddit post that I actually just shared. Like, I don't have ADHD, but after reading that post, I was like, maybe I do.
Yeah.
I was looking at some of the symptoms that the producer was talking about, and it was something that made me realize, like, sometimes we give advice sort of in a vacuum. We give advice to a general public and have no idea sort of what somebody how they have to personally break it down and dice it down, and just makes you really empathetic for like you have no idea for what somebody is kind of experiencing in that. But yeah, that's it's huge to systemize it, I guess.
Yeah, just to figure out that the time really forced me to examine how I work and what I need to be effective.
Right.
And also the part I'm getting at now is how to tell my team how to work with me better. Like and then hiring people and now with newer people, letting them know this is what my shit is.
Right.
I'm bad at the organizing all this part, da. So this is where I need you to, versus just, having an assistant. Like, this is where my shit is. Where before, it was just kind of, all right, work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We do stuff. Where now
were you not as hands-on with things, or were you like, because I'm trying to figure out like how was that? My thing was I had a power struggle in that it was hard for me to delegate responsibilities because I'm on the line and it's my brand on the line, and it's like I learned so many things from video editing and all these different things you're talking about. I had to learn that as a byproduct of, if I don't do it, nobody's going to care as much as that was my mentality at first. Nobody's going to care as much about it as I'm going to care about it. But at some point in time, I burnt out. That's kind of like a one way that you can get into this headspace. I burnt out, and I realized it was just like, you shouldn't do it. First of all, you shouldn't want to just do it by yourself, especially when somebody can be 100% at something that you just don't have the ability or the time and the headspace to do it in. But what scenario were you in? Was it a matter of like, I trust you, you do your job and you go ahead and do it? Or was it like, were you hands-on with everything within your career?
I was hands-on with a lot of stuff, and still am, like I'll just kind of get in the mix with stuff. And so now I'm better at recognizing when it's slowing shit down. Like, why is it slow? Is it me? Oh yeah, it's me. Okay. Right. What's the fuck happened to it? Me. Okay. Yeah, just so now kind of figuring out, okay, who's holding this? I'm holding this up. So I need to put somebody in place over here and just tell them, hey, don't let me hold, like, this is what the plan, and just kind of building the structure. Yeah. But being in the mix though, again, I just think about just being willing to go to the random shit. So 2 years ago, I was in LA. I just filmed my special on February 2nd. And then on my birthday, the 4th, I was just looking on Eventbrite.
April 4th?
February 4th.
February 4th. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I'm about to say happy belated. So it's a little belated, but go ahead.
I look up shit on Eventbrite to go to.
Okay.
Just different music shit, conferences. You find some stuff that, somebody might not,
Sure.
And so it was this conference, Digital Entertainment World.
Okay.
And I said, you know what? It's in Marina Del Rey. I said, fuck it. Let me just go to this random conference on my birthday. Mm-hmm. And so I get there. It's a conference like ticket. I forget how much. It was like maybe $800 or $1,000. And I say, you know what? Fuck it. Let me go and just see what happens in this motherfucker. So I go see some talks, walk around, and a couple people speak, and there was one cat, hey man, I'm a huge fan, it's like the podcast, I said, thank you, man. And walk around, maybe 20 minutes later, he comes back, hey man, actually, we're doing this commercial for Final Fantasy, the video game.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, you'd be good in it. And at the time, they were trying to cast somebody that didn't pan out, but the deal ends up coming together. Mm-hmm. Final Fantasy commercial with me and Tom Holland, who's Spider-Man. Yikes. And and it was like, it was 6 digits, just from being in this random room that I just
taking a chance
and just going in and just, and just getting into spots that good representation is great.
Right.
But then they're not always going, it's different nooks and crannies in the game that, you know, if you go to the right spot, and obviously I had my reputation and things going that worked in there, but I had to go there I didn't get it on the random. I just put myself in this spot where somebody, oh shit, yeah.
And that's, man, I mean, it's a part of your job description and what you do to be the face and be around, but it's so challenging, especially for creatives in my space, producers that, you know, they're kind of antisocial by just naturally that way. And for them to take a chance, that, you know, the first question a lot of producers will have, they talk about things that are producer related, like, is it worth it? And you're saying, look, I even at the place that I'm at, being who I am, having the reputation I have, I still look at that and say, fuck it, let's see what this can be. Yeah. And I mean, it's no mystery that one thing equals another, and then opens up a door to another thing.
And that I did that game, and then just a couple days ago, I did something for this game, Dark Alliance, Dungeons and Dragons, Dark Alliance, streaming it, which I'm almost certain comes off the back of my history with doing with fight. Because you did Final Fantasy, okay, you do that. And that's just from showing up in a random hotel conference room in Marina Del Rey.
That's wild. But what advice would you have for the person that I described earlier, who's in that scenario where they're like, well, that's easy for you because it's, you know, you're outgoing and this is what you do. What would be your advice? You know, and I guess better than just your advice, we could do two parts. Your advice for them, but then also if you had to do this over again, knowing what you know and had to start from scratch. Yeah. How what will be kind of your approach to networking and kind of making your way through?
I think it's just, you know, it's finding the right spot and just having a good attitude about it, and a good strategy with music, and just, you know, being chill and organized. Yeah. I wish I followed up more with people. That's one thing I'm working on too. Just even with friends, like good friends. Well, now it's just I realize I have to schedule more because it's just you fall out of touch with people that are you close with. Why haven't I talked to fucking such and such? And we used to hang out tough and shit. Yeah. And so that's one that I wish I knew my tendency to do that early on. Like, okay, I might, you know, not out of malice or anything, just forget to hit up a motherfucker for 8 months. So maybe I should set these. I wish I got more organized just on that, on all aspects of it, but just, you know, with maintaining shit with actual friends. Sure. Because that's the shit too. It's just like those convos, when you're not even trying to make something happen,
end up happening.
Is when shit happens because it's out of friendship and shit. It's not out of, you know, trying to willing. It's just, you know, you happen to catch somebody while they in the mix on something, and then you know, then when it's natural like that.
And I think that's probably a misperception. And I not just talking to you, but when I talk to a lot of my peers that, you know, are, you know, doing really well for themselves and have a huge following, I think sometimes they don't even realize how much of a bubble that people think they live in, and how much they think like they, you know, you're not concerned about these type of things. You know, it's just easy for you to get on the phone and get this happening and this for this, and it's like, no, you still care, first of all, about keeping your contacts warm, and then also just checking up in general on people. Yeah. And then also too, like, you're still looking at what's going on, and I think a lot of folks, they get so caught up in their brain that they won't even put it out to have the opportunity for something to happen.
Yeah, it's you just gotta kind of make the move and be willing to be unconventional. Yeah. I was thinking about the other day, I was talking to some other comedians, and then one of them writing on a show, and it got me thinking about, when I wrote on a show, it was 2009 on Saturday Night Live, and then 30 Rock the year to follow. Yeah, oh man, But those situations were Saturday Night Live was my first job, regular job, where I was making regular money, and I just kind of
It's a hell of a first job. Huh?
Yeah, it was the first, but because of that, it was stressful. You know what I mean? And just kind of, I didn't get much on. It was just a weekly thing of, oh shit, really trying to.
Did you deal with imposter syndrome at all?
A little bit, because I didn't come from a sketch writing background either. And so I was coming from stand-up, and so I had no real experience in that format besides just working in my comedic voice.
Right.
And then that having success immediately on there adds to that too. Like, damn, am I fucking up? Like, what the? But it's really just that I was more of a, at that time, probably better for on camera, but it just wasn't in the cards for them.
Yeah.
And then the next year, 30 Rock was similar, where they ended up putting me on camera a little bit, but I didn't, just because of how that writing process was over there, and I didn't really know what I needed to be as effective as I could be at that time. So I was just kind of zoning out and shit, and just because it was the sitcom writing process and with story development is super conversational, and
it's a whole nother beast.
It's just breaking story. You just kind of talking and talk, and so I didn't really know how to approach it. Also, I wasn't on Adderall or anything at the time, so I'm just like, we just in here talking. I needed some visuals or something.
They have no idea of the different filters things have to go through before you deliver on what you're delivering on.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
So I wasn't able to be as good as I probably could have been there. And so there was those were my writing experience. So I was thinking, oh, it'd be cool to do it now. And just kind of set the terms. And like, okay, I want to write in June, but it's part-time, remote. I got 2 hours a day for you. Send in, and then just because the thing was too, while I was writing on those shows, because I was working on writing, that's when I was most productive with my stand-up and other shit too, because I was in the mode of writing all the time, so I was always writing shit. So even if it didn't get on, or I was in that, so I was like
somebody using this.
I was coming up with hella shit, and so I was like, yo, I need to be in somebody's machine for a little bit just to experience that turnover again. Just because it's gonna make me do more work. It's not gonna take away from my shit. It's gonna put a crunch on my shit to like really work it. So I'm gonna do
like
that.
So equilibrium in that situation.
Yeah, well, I'm like
balance it out and whatnot.
Yeah, so I need I'm about to get a part-time writing gig.
Man. And so that's man, and I think that's inspiring to a lot of us as creators to hear, for somebody who's as accomplished as you are, in that you're like, evolution for you just seems like it's not an option. It's your personality. Is that you're always thinking about, because even as we were talking about music, like I'm like, bro, like you're approaching this with the energy of somebody that is like, no, I'm going to do this right, and this is the order of things that make it happen. And a lot of folks would kind of rely upon what they've already accomplished and be like, it don't matter what I do, really. I mean, at the end of the day, but you really,
because I got so many friends in music for years, you know what I mean? Folks that I've toured with, work with, and so I can't.
You can't have.
I have to have, I can do some fun, but I have to have some stuff that's solid and legit, just to, for my own peace. You know what I mean? That's
fair. That's fair. That's
fair. Where it's just I gotta have something where I'm like really going for it, because then
That sound like my homie. My homie used to tell me, he was like, he put all kind of pressure on me. He's older than me. We were recording together. We started making music together. We'd be in a studio, and he'd be like, "Do it again." I'm like, bro, like, is it Adhd? He's like, "Do it again." He said, "But this time, imagine Dre's looking over your shoulder." I'm like 17. I'm like, bro, I don't need that kind of stress in my life. But he's like, when you do that, it's sort of like, okay, that never leaves you. Is what I'm basically saying. And that to this day, I don't imagine Dre's over my shoulder, but I imagine that you don't know who's going to hear what you're doing right now. Are you all good?
Yeah.
You don't know who's going to listen to what you're doing right now. So treat it with the respect of, this may be my first impression that I'm making on somebody. So I that's the best foot forward,
man. And that's the thing with one of the double-edged swords with stand up and working out stand up.
Okay, what do you mean?
when you're testing stuff.
Oh, you said working out. Okay.
Yeah, working out stuff. So if you say you just go to the
not working out
comedy club,
okay.
yeah.
I was like, what kind of approach you got?
Do some push-ups right before. Actually, I do like before theater gigs. I usually hit some jumping jacks.
Okay, like, that's not what I'm referring to, Kurt.
But yeah.
So you working
hit the stage winded and shit. They like, well, why is he tired? I have asthma. I'm sorry.
You ain't told one joke. You already drenched.
Good night, everybody. Refunds at the box office. Sorry. I just can't do it today, Rochester.
Let me come back. I get my pre-workout. Let me come back. You know what I'm saying? No. But as you were saying, as you're working your material out.
So say I pop into the Comedy Cellar, or some smaller show, unpaid,
sure,
Tuesday night or something. It's some folks that might be hyped. You might want to try some new stuff, but it's folks that might know just seeing you for the first time.
Yeah.
And then and so that's the risk where you just like, yeah, you could do a hot 15,
sure,
but then there's no growth for you. So you have to, sometimes shit doesn't hit, and then that's the person's only time ever seeing you, only time seeing you live where they don't, and because there's different layers to comedy fans where some come to see that or are familiar with that part of the process. Oh, he's just trying some shit. But it's just that you can lose people because you're not going crazy each. And so it's some comics, that don't fuck around no matter what, where they always are doing
50 people, 400,
they're doing they're doing solid bits, they're doing their act outs, they're doing full energy because it is a lot of people's only time maybe ever seen you.
How does that work for you? Because I feel like the stand-up that I've seen from you hasn't always been like hugely relying upon like the physical aspect of it. It's been like you'll tell these stories, and like at first when I first saw you, I was like it was the same thing I said about Mitch Hedberg.
Yeah.
Like you have to it kind of warms up to you at first, and then it ends up becoming one of your favorite comedians.
Yeah. How
much of who you were before sort of getting into that role as the stand-up comedian, as a mere natural. Just throw it out there right there. Just throw a little tidbit out there. How much of who you were sort of played into that role that you initially played that was kind of like, you were just kind of like that one homie that everybody feel like they have a homie that's like you.
Yeah.
You would tell these jokes, but it was kind of like, it's dry humor, but you didn't have to like go over the top to get your laughs. How much of you played a role into that? And I guess that's the question I have.
It just was always just the initial stuff was ideas I had about the world and just questions. Right. And some stuff that wasn't even that hard hitting because I was new. It was just, it needed more stuff. But at the time, one of my first bits was, why is the spelling bee, National Spelling Bee on ESPN? Or one of my first ones was, Nelly on that song EI, he says, I'm a sucker for cornrows and manicured toes. And like, no, Nelly, it's pedicure. What? Or maybe Nelly got enough money that he can get his girls' hands attached to their ankles and shit like that. So it's just me just kind of like picking out stuff,
those that folks have and don't express.
Because that was it at that point. I was talking about my college. I was able to cheat in college because I had other 19 and 20-year-olds in it. So, what's up with that Grinnell cafeteria food? Campus security, that's some bullshit, ain't it? Type of jokes you could do at the beginning of a set when you go to the, a city, you can kind of dig in. I was able to do those.
Sure.
But then over time, it became this life experience, and the gig itself provided a lot of shit. 'Cause I was traveling, I was getting to be in these different scenarios, and just kind of being at first in awe of what I was seeing. Like, holy shit, what is this? You know what I mean? Oh shit, I used
to
behind
the ears and just
just like whoa, I can't. Especially when I earlier was open for bigger comedians, and so I was able to be a part of these big shows, but not be the main act. And so you just kind of see, like, damn, this is.
Were you already kind of a fan of just the genre stand-up comedians, stand-up comedy, or like were you like a huge buff of it beforehand?
No, man.
Really?
I wasn't really in. Once I started it, I dove in all the way and just got books I could get and bought DVDs and, you know, and now I realized that was hyper-focusing. But I was locked the fuck in. I stopped going to class, even though there was a lot of time to still do college. But my brain was like, no, we do stand-up. And I didn't have road gigs like that where I needed to miss class, but the brain was like, we're not going to no motherfucking lectures. What
was there a particular event that occurred that inspired that sort of hyper focus? Or was it like some encouragement that somebody gave you? Like, what was sort of that moment, or I guess successive moments that?
It was the first couple shows on campus. And just
what campus is this, by the way?
Southern Illinois University.
Southern Illinois, okay.
And so it was just having these ideas, being able to, and then going to the cafeteria and maybe, oh yeah, great job at the show.
You're hearing this from people.
And it's right away where, you know, because it's a small town, where it wouldn't have flowed the same if I started out in Chicago. Because I'm doing it as motherfuckers in class that were at the show. It might have been a small show, but it's some, you know what I'm saying? Right. And so it was really immediate. And then just the access to resources too. So I had a show on campus, closed circuit television. Was able to get there, start filming stuff. Was able to, you know, when I started putting together my own events.
Crazy.
You just, because it's a college newspaper, you just hit up the paper. Hey, write about me. I'm doing a show.
You got that access to do that there.
And then it's a college, so they like, this guy says he's doing a show. We got it, because it's 30,000, you know, college and 30,000 in the town. So you can get things going at a low level. Like, I've been doing comedy a year.
You can build a following in that.
Yeah, they give you a full interview. Yeah, I've been doing it a year. It's been fun. Yeah, I've done about 6 shows. You do a full page interview. He says he's been doing his 6 shows.
What's the opening line? Because you know, people when people write, especially college journalism, it's like it's really grandiose. Like, some people choose this. Like, some people use this. Hannibal, he chose.
He chose. It's just man. You
like really painting a picture before they get to your actual story.
Dog. Yeah, he stays. They talk about your dorm. He stays. He used to stay in the Thompson Point dorms. Now he's over in May Smith. He has a better. Yeah. He talks about the cafeteria food. Like, he talks about the cafeteria food. I'm there. Like,
it goes into a deep think piece on the cafeteria food for a little bit. Then they pull it back. See,
dog. Yeah. So it was just, you know, I learned a lot of parts of the game really early, and not just learned them, had success with them really early in this small little college thing. I learned how to shoot stuff. I learned how to promote a show. I learned how to book a show. I learned how to get press. I learned how to host. I learned, you know, and so that's what it was. So I didn't get my degree out of college, but I did, you know.
I mean, you got what you wanted from it. And that was my biggest thing too. Like, I went to college because I felt pressure from my parents, but specifically my pops. My pops, he's got his doctorate and he's a professor to this day. And I felt the pressure because it was like, you know, I feel now I understand as a dad, I understand what it feels like to be like, you know, what's your son up to? Yeah. Oh, he's out here rapping and YouTubing and other, you know, it just, it's a different conversation. It's like, well, I hope he's doing well. It's a different conversation now than it was 2003, 4, 5, 6 and whatnot. And so, I know now, what was the point that I was going to make is that, I can see how that's a hard sell for somebody who doesn't understand anything that's going on in our world. But there's so many things that happened in that very beginning that literally structured the work that we do now. And although it may be, like you said, just very humble beginnings, you're the cameraman, you're this, you're that, you're writing this, you get it. These do shape the work that you do later on. Because even now, I'm like thinking about my TV production class, and I'm like, man, I ain't anybody trying to hear about no frames per second. Talking about one day we'll be shooting in 1080p and we'll be able to see people's pain. I don't care about none of that. And now here I am struggling with my exposure for my streaming and whatnot. And it's like that stuff does carry with you and it does become a part of your DNA and kind of structures you. But when I went to college, bro, that was the point I was going to make. When I went to college, I was like, if I'm going to be here, I'm going to make it make sense. I took marketing courses. I took an improv class. I took what else? Marketing 101, all these different classes that I took, and all of that stuff, small business class, all of that stuff has helped me more than all of my years in high school.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, man. And now even thinking about it, it was that college energy and success that led to me a year later being comfortable enough to go up to Mitch Hedberg green room and say, hey, can I do a spot?
The Curtis King podcast is proudly sponsored by the Voclia Doubler. What is the doubler? Well, I think better than telling you, I should show you. You trying to tell me I can use this microphone to make beats, to make melodies, to make chord progressions? I can use my voice? I'm all in. Pretty cool, right? Check this out. The Voclia Doubler represents the future of making music. The Voclia Doubler is a real-time voice recognition MIDI controller. It offers up a never-before-seen way to translate your musical ideas into reality, using the one instrument you've been practicing since birth, your voice. Make more of the music you love without having to worry about how to get your ideas into your DAW. Before the Doubler even sponsored this podcast, I picked it up just because I'm a geek about technology, and I personally picked up the Doubler Studio Kit, which allows you to hum a melody, a synth pattern, or even beatbox one-shots right into FPC if you use FL Studio or whatever DAW that you're using. This also allows you to manipulate effects and filters in a way that only the voice can. To get the Studio Doubler Kit, all you gotta do is access getdoubler.com/Curtis King. We were talking about how you were going to approach a certain Mitch Hedberg that we mentioned before.
Yeah.
And it's funny, we were talking off camera, you were saying that you were approaching him with this energy that was very you in your 20s. And what does that even look like when you say that? Like, what is you in your 20s energy looking like?
I think it's not even an energy. It's more of the movements and ambition mixed with free time.
That can be dangerous in a good way and bad way.
And so at that time, Mitch Hedberg was playing Zanies. That's the comedy club, one of the comedy clubs in Chicago. And I just showed up and went to the green room and asked for a spot. Man. And then he said, come back the next night, which is wild that you
had access to even do that. Like, cause now it's this different world now.
Yeah. Well, you can kind of, if you perform, or if you're a local comedian, they had a loose kind of policy for local comedians to come watch shows and hang out. If stuff wasn't fully sold out, you can kind of get in the building a little bit. That wasn't, it's a smaller club. It's 150 seats. It's a tight spot. So you can kind of, get in. But asking a headliner that you don't know at all for a spot on a sold out show with their fans is you putting somebody in a weird spot.
And it's not like you could pull up at that, because what year are we talking about for that?
This is 2005.
Oh yeah, you're not pulling up. I mean, maybe you can pull out a what was the name of that? Razor Chocolate? Was it Razor Chocolate? The Chocolate phone at that time? The flip phone? Was flip phones a thing at that? Could you pull up YouTube videos to show anything, or was that even?
Nah, it was
way before.
Nah,
way before that.
My shit was a tape back then, or just
VHS. Oh man,
yeah. So I had a Kyocera phone probably around then.
Okay.
That Kyocera with snake on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotta have a snake. You gotta have a snake. It ain't real if you ain't got the snake. So he takes you on your word and gives you the opportunity to come the night after.
Yeah.
Okay. And how did that night go?
Went really well, man. He put me and a couple other Chicago comedians on.
Yeah.
This cat, Jay Harris, he put Uzzer Usman on, I believe.
Okay.
Maybe somebody else. But it's wild that he did that. But then it's a lot of stories like that around the country of him just letting local comedians get on. And it went really well. And the reason that's really important too is a lot of those clubs, the opening spots are tough to get because a lot of openers, a lot of headliners bring their folks.
Right.
And so that might take out it's 4 weekends in the month. So if 2 headliners bringing their openers, and then the club got their favorite already.
And a whole lot of spots
and
left.
a whole lot of spots, or even chances to get seen, really, especially at that time. And so he gave me an opportunity to get seen in front of a great crowd at the time, and so they got to see what I could do. Then he invited me to do one of the shows the next night, or 2 nights in the suburb, at the Suburb Club, Vernon Hills. That went well too, and that was what helped me start getting booked at the club after that.
What
just kind of?
I'm sorry.
Just getting that zone, and they remember me from that, and then I started working there from then on.
That's wild. What was something that you learned about yourself at that point? Because, I imagine even with all of the time and all of that energy and that, just being hungry in your 20s, there's still that space for self-doubt, or that space for, damn, was I overstepping boundaries, or any of that? Like, was that even a thing with you at that point in time? Like, was it something that you learned from that situation that was like, because I feel like if I had that energy for sure, but it backfired on me. I remember hitting up DM and Kendrick Lamar back when he was just Adhd, hitting his manager up, and I was like, yo, I need to do a song with this dude. This dude was crazy. And I'm like, who the hell am I to even do it? And it didn't go well. And so I learned from there, like, okay, let's approach this a different way. So everybody doesn't work the same way. Was it something that you kind of took from that and was like, damn, this worked out?
I have a really funny story about a little part in there. But here's the thing: what you said, you called up.
No, I didn't call. I didn't know them.
You didn't know them.
I was DMing them on MySpace.
Oh,
like I was a random. I was from like I was in a neighborhood. I was in Carson. They were, I think they were recording in Carson at the time, and I had a bit of a relationship with somebody, Ab-Soul, who was an artist on TDE at the time.
Yeah.
He still is, but he was just signed on, and I was trying to I heard a song. You just be so moved by a moment. You're like, yo, this song is the greatest thing I ever heard. It was a song called "Oh My Mama," and it was he was like, it was just a hard song at the time, and I was like, I think I got a verse for this, but I was like, instead of me mixtaping this, I want to reach out and get his okay for a remix. Just the audacity of me just being young and wanting to go after it, and I think his manager just kind of left me on red.
Yeah,
it was like, and what I'm saying is that had it been a Mitch situation and he'd have been like, hell yeah, come on a remix, I would have been uncontrollable.
Yeah,
I would have been a problem.
Yeah,
like you don't give me that opportunity. I had to learn a humbling lesson at that time.
Yeah, cause if you could, it was a thing where you, like you said, you could have just made it instead of as.
Yeah, but if he would have okayed it and said, co-signed by Kendrick Lamar or K-Dot at the time, that was still a huge deal. Even though J-Rock was a bigger artist at the time, that was still a huge deal because it was like, as a local artist coming up and I'm recording my grandmother's patio, I'm out here doing it. So I'm glad it didn't work out that way because my ego would have been out of here.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, was there something that you learned from that might have changed your approach, or did it encourage you even more? Like, yo, that's the way to do it.
I think it encouraged me because I saw how things could move with momentum, and I had some other good events the year before where I went to this Las Vegas Comedy Festival, and so got to go to Vegas for the first time and very early into the game. So I was pretty much every year I had something small but major at the very least, from early on in college to 2004 to that, and every year on it was always something to just kind of, that's at least, that's legit.
Yeah.
I can keep pushing on that. That's bona fide. That's enough to build on. And so that just felt, and it just showed me what packed shows could be with your fans, and just that level of generosity, which I don't have with live shows like that. But in other ways, there's other ways
to. Because that's my next question is if the tables were turned and you kind of brought something up, you answered this already. But if the tables were turned and you were in Mitch's situation, who, if you don't know, please just go on YouTube and just cringe. I say cringe. Binge watch as many videos as you can of Mitch Hedberg, because it's going to, at first when you hear it, it's going to be like, okay, this is, you gotta find the speed. And when you find the speed and you recognize the humor, it becomes addicting. Same thing with this is the same thing I equate with your comedy too. It becomes addicting because it's damn, why isn't all comedy like this? Because they had to be the ones to do it. But my question for that was, now tables turn, you're that guy.
Right.
I'm an up and coming comedian. I'm on TikTok. You know, I'm doing a little something. Not me in particular. I'm just giving a scenario. But I'm popping, and I come and I see you. And COVID has opened up the world again. COVID goes away for a little bit, and I'm coming up to you, and I'm like, yo, I heard your story. It's a lot of inspiration, bro. So what's up with me opening up for you tonight?
I had to see something and decide. Okay. But I've let people I don't know on. But I had to see something and see you rocking the crowd, especially if it's a theater show.
Yeah,
I gotta really.
You gotta show me some cards.
You gotta show me something. If I'm hosting something, when I was hosting at Knitting Factory for 5 years, where I had comedians of all. It was a showcase, so people came through. You know, it was. People get paid $20, $25. It was a fun gig. So it was comedians that's been doing it a year or something to, Chappelle Rock come through there.
Right.
So that type of situation, I gave a lot of people, a shot in that scenario because
you've done that. Is what
So the gig is a different type of thing, like doing the gig. But when you're hosting something where it's 5, 6 comics and you're able to protect it a little bit better too, because if you're hosting, you're going up and down from the stage, so you can kind of you can clean it up a little bit. You can kind of keep the room vibing as a DJ, and so wherever it's a different type of scenario.
And you bring up something too, because we're getting ready to wind this up, and I really appreciate you. Just a great conversation. I know you don't do too much press, especially because you want to make sure that it's folks that truly want to get into the human being beyond just the entertainer. And so we appreciate you being on here.
Thank you, man.
Of course. Are there things about this industry that, and I'm sure there are, that you could share with us that you have learned that would have been great perspective to have before you got into it? I asked this question to many different friends of mine that have been on here and have done really well in their particular industry, but there's always that you go in and you're wide eyed, like you're talking about doing the college shows, and you're looking around, you're like, oh man, this is someone. Is there something that you've learned about just the industry in general? That has kind of like that you wish you would have had that when you began this information or knowledge about it?
I just wish, for me personally, I had a clearer vision early on. Because without that, it allowed me to get pulled in a lot of different directions creatively, because there was no roadmap really. It was just kind of like doing stand up, I'm working, I'm doing, oh, what you want to do? Cool. But it was no real, okay, this is what I want to be doing this year. This is how I want to do this. And it was just kind of taking stuff as it comes. You know what I mean? And it was some good opportunities within that, but with a clearer kind of thing early. That's what I wish, because then the catalog and the work would reflect it. Yeah,
got it. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
What's sort of your stance on, or your observation of cancel culture? Because I see there's a lot of comedians, with the exception of one of my favorite in Dave Chappelle, and that he's like, y'all can do whatever you want to do. My act is my act, and the world changes, and obviously there's a lot of people now that are having a platform that, and rightfully so, that maybe before their stance wasn't respected as much, and they feel like their voice matters, and they want to make sure that folks are held accountable. But I'm always curious, because there's pros and cons, I think, of cancel culture. But what is sort of your viewpoint in general of this, and how does that change the material that you write?
My view of it varies, because it's a wide ranging thing,
right?
Whereas, that person should get up out of here.
Sure,
that is some vicious, terrible shit. And then you'll see some stuff where you're like, well, what is going on over here?
Can we get all the facts
that,
in this situation?
Or even just where it's, for a difference in opinion or nothing that's really even that, where it's not a harsh thing. And so it kind of all gets muddied into one when it's not, it's not a full, it's not a monolith. It's like, where it's like, okay, this is getting out of hand. As far as the material goes, it just, I think overall, you wanna. That's what clarity is important. But even sometimes when you have clarity, if things are out of your hand, they can go in a whole different direction where you're like, what the fuck? And so that's it could be where it could be in areas you didn't expect. When you're like, how did this get like that? That's the nature of putting stuff out.
I'm about to say, I feel like it happens to Steve Harvey all the time. In clips there's another clip that went viral recently about him talking about his inability to have female friends.
Yeah.
And there's too many factors to take into it. Like, when was it said? And in what context? What was the conversation before? And then another one where he talks about rich people don't sleep. He said they don't sleep for 10 hours. And people were like, you're not taking mental health into consideration. And it's like, I get that. But then it's like, at what point in time are we able to let somebody just have their opinion? I think that's one thing I learned over the last 4 years, like politically and all of that. I tried to kind of like stay away from that dialogue. But one thing I did learn from Trump, he doubled down on what they try to cancel him on. Like, the audacity, and I know there's probably other factors in it, but I feel like the folks that have the audacity to be like, I said what I said.
Yeah, because then if you give on it, then they just...
What's the limit?
Yeah.
You're going to be apologizing forever.
Yeah, it's somewhere like this makes no sense.
What's an example of something you think that was just like for me, it was the Starbucks cups. I don't know if you caught that, but it was like a period in time where people were like, what if I don't believe in Christmas? These Starbucks colored cups offend me. And I'm like, come on, fam. Like, you taking a seat from people who actually have valid reasons why they want people to be up out of here. But they talking about Starbucks. I was like, this is where it's going. I feel like this is where it's going. Is there anything that comes to mind that's like kind of on a ridiculous end? Somebody
said it was an old show where they had this thing. The things that happened in this show are not... it was a time, it was like this long, weird...
It was a disclaimer for...
This thing is a product of its time.
Wow. Oh my gosh. No, not for the. Is that Beverly Hillbillies?
Is that old? Yeah, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I think it's better. Heels, that is. Black gold, but Texas tea. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I was a kid that grew up on TV, so yeah, that's definitely Beverly Hillbillies. But that's crazy that you have to. See, I hear you. Now, please explain why you think that's sort of on the ridiculous end of the spectrum.
But it's ridiculous. But it's just part of it ends up everybody's just kind of covering themselves and acting in an anticipating way.
Yeah.
To stuff. So they're anticipating. They're like, we saw what happened over here. And they said, what do we got to do to
make this?
Yeah, and so it's just always anything that was, a product of his time. I don't even know what that, but I just thought that opening was funny, and they probably do it for other stuff. It's just it just feels weird where
I
it's
just. I see that for Sanford and Son. I feel like I haven't seen it on TV as much, but if I ever saw that before Sanford, it would be really disappointing to see that.
It's not okay to call your child a dummy.
No,
it was a time when you could call your child
that to my show.
When dummy, he didn't mean, he just, that was, there was their dynamic. They had a special dynamic, but
Yes.
we do not condone that dynamic.
Lamont is actually an educated black man who's doing really well for himself. Like, you ain't got, like, why? And I think that's where it becomes even where some of the corporations, bro, like, the pandering just got kind of crazy towards the end of last year. And my thing is, like, this sounds bad. I don't say this usually for my own audience because I keep out of the political conversation, but it's like, stand on your ground. Like, do what you keep that same energy is what I'm basically saying. If this doesn't apply to you, you saying something about it now because it's trendy, because you're trying to protect your business, it just comes off as disingenuous. And it's like, I respect the companies. You just stand, like, there's a company now that I forget the name of it. I think it might be WeWork, and it's kind of over the top. But they were like, we're just not going to discuss these things at all as a company. Yeah. And it's like, I don't have to agree with that, but, you know, I got to respect your gangster. You do you.
Yeah. You saw just recently?
I think it was a WeWork. It was somebody who has a whole nother, like, they have a different way of how they're going to address those kind of issues, like by not addressing them at all, which I don't think is an answer, but that's.
It was some company, I think, Basecamp.
Basecamp, that's what it was. Basecamp.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, I don't want to cause any issue with
them. And a third of the people left from there. It just third, and they would post. It was people posted on Twitter. Just hey, I just left Basecamp
because of the new policy.
Leaving work, and I had a good time. I wrote somebody that was director of marketing because he put his email. I said, hey, you want to help push Monsters Never Have Diarrhea?
Come on, hey! Look, I respect that too. I'm very stoic, bro. I'm very I don't get too high on the high or too low on the lows. So when I see that, you got to be up. Like when somebody tells me something, like how do you take negative feedback? Because I'm sure people tell you stuff all the time. Oh yeah, you're not like so and so, or you're not this, or you're not that, or this wasn't your greatest work. How do you mentally process that kind of feedback
on the work?
On the work, not when it's a heckler, because obviously in that scenario, we know I've seen you demolish folks. But I mean, in terms of now with the social media access, and when it's things that maybe you might even like, if you're like, is there a little bit of truth in how I feel about that, or like, how do you process these things that are said about you from just these randos, man?
It varies on the thing or if it's but for the most part, I've done various parts of this process for so many years, and I'm tougher on myself when I'm in the room than any stranger is ever gonna be. You know what I'm saying? Like when I'm in the edit room, you motherfucker, you can't say nothing to me about my like that because I've already seen it, I lived it, I know it, and so I'm comparing. If I'm telling a story, trying to trend, like all of it, I'm into it way at another level than a stranger could ever be. They just firing
for 5 seconds.
They're just firing straight shots.
Yeah.
I'm firing shots to the dome when I'm when I'm really working on my shit and trying to make it better.
You're breaking it down and dissecting it in ways that they wouldn't even understand. I mean, that's why it's your art form. It's your science.
And so it's just, it's not. So I'm not gonna say nothing is, but it's just I'll never argue for my shit. If you don't feel it, you don't feel it. Like, I'm not here to maybe you catch it another time in your life, and it is. If not, it's fine. I'll be all right either way. So I'm never. Hey, you say you don't like it, then that's because I don't like it. That's shit that I don't like. Yeah. So I can't ever. If they just don't, as long as this motherfucker's not disrespectful, can't front on somebody just not like it because there's stuff I don't like.
Sure.
So that's that. And just because I know when I'm working on shit though too, how I work, and it's a specific. Even when I'm putting together a special, or putting together a movie, or working on stuff, I know the level that I'm working on in that room, man. And my folks in the room know that. The level I'm working on when we in that room.
And those are the folks that matter. Yeah, I mean, the folks on the outside do matter, but there's such a variable that it's like you can't. It's the same thing as an artist or a producer. Like I get in my head about my mixing and could this be this and but I'm like at the end of the day, somebody's going to listen to my music probably in some Dollar Tree earbuds that they picked up on the way out to purchase some Tiki Punch Shasta. You feel me? Because that's what you get from 99-cent store and. They just gonna listen to the music and be like, it bangs.
Yeah.
all of this parametric equalizing and mastering and imaging and widening the stereo field, they care nothing about. All they're like, I just like it because it has a nice beat to it.
Yeah.
So it's like, at the end of the day, it's not that I don't equate them, but I'm piggybacking off of what you're saying. Is like the folks in this room are the reason. Like I have a friend of mine that told me, it's a mentor of mine. He said, never forget you're the cause and they're the effect. Mm. If you lose sight of that, it'll have you arguing with user 7265 gamer who hates everything that you do. And it's like, that's the effect of the fact that you sat in a room with these creative human beings and you created what you created. So props to you for that, man.
You just gotta keep it really pushing, you know, and stay active, man. And you know, getting it out helps you have something to. When my friends hit me up about ideas of folks I work with, I'm just like, just do it. Like especially on some filming stuff.
Right.
Robert Hines hit me today. He had this idea. I say, that's a pretty straightforward idea. You want to talk to business owners. I was like, you can honestly, if you want to,
just go.
You can do that this evening.
That's
you know, you could do that this evening. We ain't gotta. It's not that complicated. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure you could try to call them up. But you can honestly show up to a business with a camera and say, "Can I talk to you?" You could have that in the can tonight if you want to do it.
You never know what they need too.
Yeah,
like they may be like, "Hell yeah, we want a little bit of a pub of what's going on."
And so so it's just realizing now I've gotten better at like knowing what ideas can just go on the filming side. Just let's do it. Yeah. All right, let's do it.
Yeah,
let's just do it.
Yeah,
let's just get one and then see.
So I'm sorry. Go and you said
let's just get one, see, and then we'll know what we need to do. Just get that demo of the, you know. I'm not like that with music all the way yet, the rapid fire. But with video stuff, I'm all the way, especially, and I'm becoming a good facilitator too in that way of just, okay, you need this, like get this camera to that, get that, y'all,
sure,
you know, and being able to help my folks, you know, put the pieces together and get moving real fast.
Which is ironically my last question for you, in that I know that there's folks watching right now who are inspired by your journey, inspired by the things that you have done. And I tried, for those who are watching, like I tried not to ask questions that you've heard him answer a million times, and I'm sure that you've seen other interviews, especially if you're a fan of his. I wanted to make sure these were questions that tapped into the human being behind the artist, behind the comedian, behind the musician, behind all the things that he's doing, the writer, and all the things that he's doing. It's important to understand sort of like those things that are your why, those things that are part of your energy and who you are today. Because I mean, that's what drives the same folks who are fans of this channel. There's people who are into some kind of creative art, but they're also the same ones that I was talking to when I made the video that initially got on your radar, which was just to put it out. So what advice, now that you're starting to channel that just go for it energy, right? That energy that's like, yo, just don't even think about it.
Yeah.
What advice could you give for someone that doesn't come as natural to them, or they haven't been around folks that can push them like you?
I think it's just if you got something, just get just write out the basic of what you need for it to go off.
Okay.
And in video production, that's minimal. Even to get the solid quality, you just like, I need a live mic, I need this, I need maybe one. You crew up, you could do a lot with just you doing all this here, solo dolo. So if you crew up with 3, you can get a lot, you know, done at a high level. So I know from just filming stuff, it's just you know, make sure your sound right. If you can get your sound right, just
that's half the battle.
Roll on that. Roll on whatever you need to do. You get your sound right, and just get the idea going, and then get it off. You know, if you know, you can do it with no money. So it's just, if you had a concept, shoot the shit, go chop it.
And
you know,
and then also, what do you have coming, or what is already out that people can tap into, and how can they find you? I mean, they should know how to find you by now, but in the event that this is the first time that they're experiencing.
They can, I had the socials and stuff, and Miami Nights, we're figuring out where to put it out next. Okay. So it's not available now, but my old special, Comedy Commissado's on Netflix.
Yes, sir.
Live from Chicago and Animal Furnace available on Amazon and the other stuff and whatnot. YouTube, Spotify, all that, different podcasts and whatnot. We just put out a Robert Hines special called Lockdown.
Okay.
That's the first special I helped produce. It's not my own, so I'm
dope.
doing more of that.
Yeah.
We also made a song for him, Moby Combs, Cold Ass Cryotherapy.
Yes, sir.
And
yes,
cryptocurrency. So kind of working that song right now. That was a fun one. That process was really fun. And that was one where it's my first time working in a room with a group of folks for a while.
Yeah.
And just seeing how when you get it going, how fast you can move. Because we had the idea for the song on a Sunday, and then we recorded it on the Monday and Tuesday. I wrote it and recorded it Monday, Tuesday. Tuesday night, started shooting on green screen at my studio upstairs.
The songs memorized and all of that stuff?
Songs memorized.
That's crazy.
And then the Wednesday shot at the cryotherapy place. And then Thursday had it to the editor, and he had a rough cut by Friday.
That's nuts.
So it was
the time we're living in, though. I mean, I don't think there's ever been a time where that's been the possibility, like to get it out that fast from idea to, I think I got an idea. Okay, well, let's hire a camera crew and let's book some studio time. And it's like, no, let's shoot it tonight.
And it's just I'm blessed to have a facility where I can do multiple parts of the process in there and just do it fast. And kind of, we was drinking a lot of mushroom smoothies that way. So that's the thing with mushroom, like microdosing and having little shrooms, it make you really be like, anything is possible. Like, let's get it. Like, I was on one that week, like, okay, let's get it.
Right. That's real though. That's real.
Like, let's get this. Yeah, you got this shit. Like, I was coaching on the takes, like, oh, you got it. Like, next to him, he was on the mic. I'm next to him, like, yeah, let's go. And I'm stepping outside of myself like, who is this guy? I'm not like this. Usually, but I was in that.
But I don't want to mess that energy up though. It's working.
It was just, that's the energy that gets shit done.
Yes,
it's just and move stuff forward. When motherfuckers make movies don't happen just because somebody just emailed and then a lot of time, motherfucker, you always hear. Man, we've been trying to get this movie made for 12 years. What does that mean?
Trying to get it made.
I've been trying to get it made.
We have multiple drafts.
Yeah, we had the script, and then such, and then we first X actor was in it. Then they fell out because they had to do something else. Then we had our finance. Then the financing fell out, and then we went to the distributor. We went to Paramount. It was like at Paramount for a little bit, but then that exec left Paramount. So then we were.
It's like you don't want to do this, do you? It sounds like you don't even want to do this movie for real.
And at some point, motherfuckers have, and so imagine how many projects have just fallen off in that. At some step in that, our exec left. Damn, man. Oh, this happened. Damn, man. But the motherfuckers that keep on, like, no, we're getting this shit moving. I'm gonna still work on this, but we still working on this, and it's because somebody's driving that shit to see it through. It's not passive at all. Like, motherfuckers gotta make that shit shake.
And I feel like that's why you're getting folks that, they. There's so many folks with audiences. Maybe it's always been like that and just we didn't have the access to each other. But there's so many people that I'm like, never heard of them. Never heard of any, usually there's like a reference or two that you're like, oh, that's the person that worked on so-and-so and was in a Snoop Dogg shoot and they did it. No Carfax at all, but got 1 million followers. Like, how do you know 1 million people?
Yeah.
How do 1 million people know you have never brought your name up? But that exists now. And those folks who are like getting 1 million following from a TikTok, can literally wake up and make content. Like there's a guy right now, one of my favorite on TikTok and IG named Mike Cakes. Have you ever heard of him?
Does he make beats on there or no?
No. He's the one that he has the Down Bad guy where he'll be like a really like sexual video. Like another one was like an egg that had teeth and had a tongue. and then like they'll show the video, and then it'll go to him, and he's like sweating with these glasses on, and it'll be like, he would like, hand me that egg, please.
Yeah.
And then the voice, there's like a voiceover that says, but sir, those teeth will hurt you. I said, oh, I'm gonna do more than get hurt. And he'll just like do that. I'm like, he can output 15 pieces of content in a week and not have to run it by any managers or any kind of middleman or any kind of label. Hey, you got to do. He can just run this content off and then has the ability to delete it if it don't work.
Yeah.
Like that flexibility is crazy now.
Yeah, man. Everybody's given playbooks too. It's just everybody is such a weird
thing.
It
so easy.
Yeah, where you give up so much game and just how and process. You sit on here
at home
and make beats and show your screen, and so many others do too. Where you can like really just watch. Okay, he clicked there. Yeah, okay, man. What? And then
imagine if we had that access to like Pharrell and the Neptunes when they were in their prime. We could have saw how they made grind and beat with clips.
Yeah,
like we have that now, but I didn't have that access coming on.
Right. It's just it's out. Everything is out there. So, and that's also the
pro and a con.
That's a con too, because you can dive too much into the stuff too, and just
learn everybody's bad habits.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So you gotta, pick your spots. Like, okay, I'm like feeling a little. I'm a little stuck. Let me just get this in right before and then let me get to work.
Sure.
Because you'll find yourself, you 6 hours into plug-in videos and mastering some. I don't know, watch some I had my mom over and a couple other folks.
Just me and mom watching some videos about mastering,
I put on something it was my mom, my cousin Nicole, her boyfriend D'Artagnan, my pops. And so we would watch, and so I just put on a mastering video, and then I realized, this is not for the room. Let me not lose the room.
You read the room well on that one. That's good. That's good.
At first I was trying to explain mastering to my mom to bring her into it. I said, mastering is when they want to make sure the levels of the track is right, and so blah blah blah. And she,
all right.
And then, man, maybe it's a coincidence, but I turned to another video, but they left the house like 10 minutes after that. The mastering video lost the goddamn room.
Yeah. Well, you might lose a room full of producers, and they do this, and they still like.
Yeah.
But how do you slide the 808s and make it go vroom, 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 vroom? Like, what's up with that? Like, they don't even want it. That's for them.
Yeah, it's not Saturday evening viewing.
This week I was with my mom, we just watching some Pensado's Place, you know what I'm saying? Just watching a few parametric equalizing videos. Mom's was like, giving me some tips. No, that's for sure. But I appreciate your time, man. We getting ready to start cooking up. Ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you being here.
Hey, for sure, man.
Really
Thank you, dog.
Are you reaching out for the hand?
I didn't know if you gesturing.
No, you good. Yeah. That would be a weird.
That was because
that's a weird.
I'm scarred from that 2 Chainz thing where I thought he was just gesturing at me. I went for the handshake. Yeah. He was not handshaking, so I had to play it off on camera.
You had to reel that one back in.
And so then when you did that, I had a flashback.
I was ready for that too. Yeah. If that didn't work, I was gonna scratch my leg or something like it. I was
just gonna gesture at you too.
You know what? I had to get my MIDI keyboard. It failed during this session, but no, I appreciate your time. I appreciate just being so open about the answers and everything. And for those of you that are watching, I greatly appreciate you supporting the Curtis King podcast. Make sure like this video, share it, comment, and then also for those of you that are listening on the traditional platforms, from work, from school, I appreciate you and I thank you. Definitely leave a 5-star rating and some commentary if there's some things that you resonated with. And matter of fact, if you do come over to the YouTube, leave it in the comments. I'm going to pick a best comment or a comment that really encapsulates what happened today. Today is a big deal for the podcast, and we really appreciate it. So leave a comment, and I'm going to give a free copy of Tape Boy to somebody out there. So greatly appreciate it. Y'all have a good one. Like I always say, in this life, you will not be full of life until you decide to live life to its fullest. Once again, it's Curtis King of the Curtis King podcast. Thank you, Hannibal.
Thank you, man. Thank you. You know what? I wanna.
What you gonna say? Okay.
Here's what I wanted to.
Jerry Springer final thoughts. Let's get it.
Because I don't talk to my audience enough, probably.
Please do. Let talk to them. Let them know what's going on.
And so I think this is a way, since I'm, to create an accountability for myself on a release schedule. Because I got a lot of stuff to put out, and it's just I should put out. And so I'm calling on you all
The camera right here. Talk to him right there.
You can hold me accountable to dropping a song or freestyle every 2 weeks.
Oh, every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
From the release of this, which is going to be on a Monday. For every 2 weeks. Is
this dropping on the 3rd?
This is dropping on the 3rd.
Okay, so yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
But would you mind if I included myself in that? I mean, it's good to have somebody within. I mean, we're making the music together.
All right.
I'm going to definitely hold you to that, man. We're going to get this stuff going.
All right, for sure.
All right, and I'll make sure I provide the production. But
right.
y'all heard them. Keep them accountable.
Yep.
All right, I'm going to holler at y'all. Have a good one. Peace.